Welcome to another episode of the Cricket Hotspot podcast. This is episode number 6, and that's the maximum number of World Cups any player has played, which is tied by Sachin Tendulkar and Jad Miandad as of now. This is me, your host Sarthak, along with my partner in crime,
Parth.
And we're here to talk about the review of the India-England series. And we have another few interesting things lined up for you as we go along.
Let's first congratulate the English team for playing, I think, one of the best brands of cricket that you will ever see, at least in modern day, because you do not see great fast bowling, and not only great fast bowling just from one end, from all the ends, and having the best spinner in the world, and it's definitely very good to see bowling attack being focused on very much, and the batting, of course, if the bowling is so good, any batting will do, but they also have an amazing batting attack, and fielding is very athletic.
Absolutely. England played amazingly well, and India were thoroughly outplayed in every department on the field.
I reckon if India was full strength, they wouldn't have beaten this English side.
I don't know. That's a discussion for another time, I guess. But in any case, England, full marks to them. They played amazingly well. Bowling was top class. The batting was amazing, and their fielding was again. Well, fielding, I would say, was not much better than India, but it was a little better for sure. They took some sharp catches which India could have done in the field.
Well,
but,
India could have taken some easy catches.
That's true. That's true.
So,
but in any case, as you said, the one very interesting point that you made was they had top-class fast bowling, and I think that's a really important thing, because I was just reading up on one of the articles by our one of the ex-India players, and made a very good point that for any great team in the world, they should be able to call on their two fast bowlers at any given point of time. So you have to have a minimum of 3 great bowlers. I wouldn't say great, but 3 very good bowlers in your side for you to be consistently amongst the top teams.
See, one thing that you want to have in a team is depth. And they have huge resources that they can really bank on.
They've got a good pool of players, and that's, I think, the most important thing which India right now lacks, because they have great players in their side which won't be part of the team for much longer because they are towards the end of their careers, and they don't really have a pool of players to replace these players as soon as they go. You can't really expect someone to come out of the shadows of a Tendulkar or a Lakshman and suddenly take their place. That won't happen for a long time, because even these players needed time to adjust themselves to the international level. But at this point of time, if India does not invest in youth, which everyone's been harping about of late, then I think it's going to be really tough for a team like India to come back to the number 1 stage. What do you think?
I mean, you need to have a pool of players. But one thing that I would like to ask is that when things are going for you, then you have everything. You have a pool of players. You're actually coaching facility is the best. You have the best management. You're actually county season works perfectly. Everything just goes absolutely well for you. But when things are going wrong, and they did terribly wrong for India in this tour, then you find out flaws from the perfect team that India was 1 month ago.
That's true, and that's the most important part of a team, I guess, when you can lift yourselves up in the face of adversity. That's, I think, the hallmark of a great team. And India had their chances. They were 1-0 down, then they were 2-0 down, 3-0 down. They could have come back in either of those tests, or at least played decently well, given up a fight.
Let's review this series. Let's go to the English team. Overall, how much marks would you give them out of 10?
Oh, England, I think, according to me, theirs was absolutely a 9 on 10 performance. I wouldn't give perfect because, again, it's very tough to be perfect.
It's very tough to give perfect.
So,
yeah.
9 would be almost the highest I would give, and I'd give them that right now. So,
okay.
I would say that theirs was a 9 on 10 performance. They clicked in every department. Their bowling was superb. Their batting was amazing. And each and every player, in one point of time or the other, stood up, put a price on their wickets. And if they're bowling, they bowled wicket-taking balls. And they put it in the right length, right areas, and they got the rewards. And fielding, they took some stunning catches, although they were quite mediocre in the initial part of the series. But they regrouped, and
they did very well.
It was really great. What are your thoughts on their performance?
I would give them a 9.5. They were as close to perfect as you can have in a team. I have been following England very closely since their Peter Moores and Kevin Pietersen problems that they had, and since then the way they have regrouped, the way they have gone strength to strength. I was telling people that if there is a team that can challenge India for the number one spot for the last 2 years, is England, because you need bowlers to win you test matches, and right now England is the best bowling attack on any conditions. Forget English conditions, on any conditions, they have the best bowling attack. So very good performance, very good performance. And when you have three double centuries in a series,
That tells you the story.
that tells you the story. And India had only 3 centuries, England had 10 centuries in the series. No, sorry, 10 century partnerships, and India had just 2. So test match cricket is all about partnerships. You cannot win a test match without having good partnerships.
Yeah, and that was really important. I think if you start right at the top for England, they're batsmen. I think 3 batsmen, according to me, who made a huge impact on the series, in the order, I would say, are Kevin Pietersen, Alistair Cook, and Ian Bell. Or I would say Ian Bell and then Alistair Cook.
Yeah, I mean, I picked Bell to be England's trump card from the start, because I just love the way Bell plays, and he's definitely up there. People to watch for me. Yeah, I would stick to that order, because KP's first match innings was crucial.
It was crucial in setting the tone for the entire series. And there was a lot of talk before the series began about the kind of form Kevin Pietersen was in. And a lot of people had their doubts as to when the KP of old will turn up. Although for the first 50 or 100 runs of that innings, the 200 that he scored at Lords, he wasn't his old self. But for the last 50, 75 runs, and the last innings he played 175 he scored for the last test match. I think we all got to see the vintage KP.
Yeah, I mean, KP is a man for big occasions, and he turns up for the marquee series, and very, very good performance, very strong performance, and a performance that actually makes a statement, and that's what you want from your batting order, to make a statement.
Going on, let's talk about Ian Bell. I think 2 amazing centuries, well, 1 century and 1 double. 2 great innings when
Very
the team
good.
was in need.
Very good.
And
One was marred by controversy, the other was perfect.
So I think a very chanceless innings. He didn't give India much of a whiff of a wicket till he actually fell towards the end. But by that time, the damage was long done.
Yeah.
And amazing display of batting by him, actually. And we always knew, and I know you've told me on a number of occasions that he had always had faith in him, but we always knew that he had the talent, but he never really shown to this extent. This series is actually, I would say, a turning point in his career, like coming of age series, if you would.
Well, his knocks in the Ashes 2011 were also very good. They did not get the reward because he used to come too lower down the order after actually Paul Collingwood. But since his come up, he got to bat number 3 after a long time. And remember, he got the chance to be number 3 for a long time, and he did not use it. But this time, he's actually pushing Trott, who was one of their leading run getters previous to the series, to be a strong contender for number 3, and it's sort of a testament to classical batsmanship. I mean, you don't see late cuts nowadays. You see Peterson-esque hoiks over actually mid-wicket, but you don't see classical late cuts and just pure driving, just tremendous.
Coming down onto Alistair Cook, I think that 294 that he scored was one of the more patient innings we've seen in recent times.
It was a snooze ball. Let's just go over that.
Well, yeah, people describe it in any which way they want, but it's the impact of that innings, right?
Yeah,
294 runs single-handedly. I think India took more than an innings to go past his score.
Yeah.
So that was single-handedly versus 10 players. You can see the impact that one innings had on the entire match.
Yeah.
And that required amazing powers of concentration. And I was reading an article about Alistair Cook, which had an interview by Graham Gooch, his coach and mentor.
Yeah.
And the dedication that he was talking about that he has towards the game takes a lot of hard work to actually go out and practice for hours and hours to see the ball at that point of time when you've been batting for 4 or 5 hours, still see it that well and continue playing that way. Only some people can do it.
Only some people can.
Moving on to the bowling department, I think for me personally, the two bowlers who made the biggest difference for them are Stuart Broad and Tim Bresnan. I think more than Anderson, I'd select Bresnan just for the sheer impact he had once he came in. He contributed with the bat. As an all-round performance, I'm just saying.
Yes, as an all-round performance.
He contributed with the bat, and his bowling has been spot on. Every time he's come on to bowl, he's looked like getting a wicket. He bowls fast. He hits the deck, and he surprised a lot and troubled a lot of Indian batsmen with his bounce.
I think his it was his second test bowling. His second test bowling was pretty amazing, where he bounced a lot of Indian players. His third test was okay. I think his fourth test was not up to the scratch, but I think that's why I would like to put Anderson over Bresnan, but I like the fact that we both picked Broad. Broad was definitely amongst the runs. He was your fantasy pick for all the 4 matches.
That's right.
Or 3 matches. I mean, definitely England's man of the series. Good choice from the selectors. But one thing that I liked about Anderson was that he came to clean. I mean, he came when the chips were down, in the sense that whenever England needed a wicket, you would turn to Anderson. And also he bowled very well in second innings of all the 3 test matches. His most of the wickets are in the second innings, which means that he comes when England needs a performance. He comes when England needs to clean up, and sometimes that's the most difficult part from a fast bowler. I think this series has really solidified the kind of English the brand of English cricket that I think England can be proud of in this series, and I think Anderson personifies that change. It's very surprising to see that a person like Chris Tremlett would find it very hard to make a comeback now, and he was their strongest bowler coming into this series. I mean, we were just doing it. Our actually preview of the series was actually a swan song for Tremlett, but a man who got injured for 3 tests cannot make a comeback. That's the power of English cricket these days, I guess.
And that's how you want your team to be, as in 15, 17 players, top players, constantly fighting for the 11 spots that you have. That makes a great team. So moving on to the Indian team, I guess there's not much to write home about, but we do have a couple of standout performances actually in a tough series like this, when you see your side scored only 3 centuries and all of them came from the same man.
That's very rare, and to be on the losing side after scoring 3 centuries, that is even rarer, if that's the right term.
Rahul Dravid aggregated 480 odd runs in the series.
Tremendous, and tremendous patience. I mean, all the adjectives that you would use to explain Rahul Dravid and his batting, you would just apply them and they would fit perfectly to this man's performance in this series. I mean, just tremendous.
I think as Bell is for you, Dravid is for me, because I had immense respect for the man, and I've always time and again mentioned that his contribution gets shadowed under other contributions by more flamboyant players, be it Tendulkar, be it anyone else, be it a Sehwag or anyone. His contribution always gets overshadowed, and I'm so proud and I'm so happy that his contribution is actually standing out amongst the rubbles of Indian cricket at the moment.
Yes.
And
yeah, certainly rubbles.
He deserves the kind of respect that he's getting, because he's time and again showed what a quality batsman he is, be it home or away. And he's one of the only players to have actually scored more runs away, more centuries away, and averages higher than he does on subcontinent, which is phenomenal, where pitches are made for your style of batting.
If I want somebody to learn how to bat, you would have to learn through Rahul Dravid.
It's the textbook of cricket.
And if you want to learn how to conduct yourself more than Sachin, you would learn from Rahul Dravid.
And totally a team man. If you remember the early 2000s when India was without a quality keeper, first choice keeper, the captain asked Dravid to keep the wickets. He's ready for that.
In 2007 World Cup, he kept for India. I mean, 2003 World Cup.
2003 World Cup.
He kept for India. I mean, definitely, whenever you need him to open,
captain asks you to open the innings. He's ready for that.
He has said many times he does not want to open. but he will do it.
He'll do it. Yes.
If Sehwag is not there, if Sehwag gets out early, which most likely he does,
Or
if
Gambhir has concussion.
or Gambhir has concussions and all the rest of nonsense that has gone around with Indian cricket this series, he has stepped up to
A
the
total
mark.
team man, and that's what I love the most about him.
Yeah, totally, definitely. Parveen Kumar,
I think that was
he was the
next name I was coming on to.
Yes.
Parveen Kumar, definitely,
find of the series.
definitely the standout performer as far as bowling is concerned, and even batting, I would say. His few runs at the end provided some entertainment for the crowd, and actually added respectability to the mediocre score.
I think the best tail batsman in India would have to be Amit Mishra. He batted tremendously, but let's go on to Parveen Kumar. His bowling was definitely, unquestionably the best of the lot. You know, one thing that I like about a person like this is because he's been raised in the flatbeds of Uttar Pradesh, and he does not mind bowling 8 over spells. 9, that's very hard for a fast bowler. I mean, 5 over spell is still stretching it a bit. So bowling 8 over spells and still, and you know, one thing that is good is that he always has a smile on his face. He will do whatever the team needs him. Again, a team player, and you know, shouldering the burden of Zahir not there and missing just after 1.5 hours of the series, just shouldering the innings and taking a 5 at Lords, getting his name on the honours board, and playing with the best attitude that a fast bowler can play with. Parveen Kumar just solidified a place for him.
Very tough competitor. I think the heart with which he bowled, it was amazing to see him bowling 30-40 overs in an innings when every other bowler was being smacked around. He was the only one who looked like coming close to picking a wicket. He knew where to pitch the ball, and the best thing about his performance was he bowled within his limitations. I mentioned this I think in one of the previous podcasts, but I'll do that again here because it's really relevant. He knows he's not 140, 150 kilometers per hour bowler. He knows he's a mid 120s.
Yeah.
And that is the best thing. Instead of trying to be somebody you're not, do the best with what you have. And he knows what his limitations are, and he's just putting the ball in the right areas and letting the batsman make the mistake. And we saw how effective that was.
And you know, one thing that is an interesting thing to note is that in the first 3 test matches, India were basically playing without a spinner. So he had to assume that role of holding that one end up, and that is very hard for a fast bowler to do. And when you one bowler short and your spinner is also not forming, you cannot win test matches. And I think he brought India close in the Lord's test, not close enough. 2 people that I wanted to talk to you about especially, one is Mahendra Singh Dhoni and the other one is Raina. I mean, what do you think about first Mahendra Singh Dhoni?
I don't think we should all start doubting his capabilities based on one series. Agreed.
Capabilities as a captain or
as a captain.
Or as a keeper?
As a captain.
Oh, definitely not as a captain. Yeah.
He has done well, amazingly well since he took over the captaincy.
He's not lost a test series. That's the biggest thing.
This has been one of his toughest tours. He admitted it. Him as a wicketkeeper, now that's a different thing. He has been scratchy initially when he started out. Then he got better, but this series actually brought him down to a new low.
But he won't get that bad anywhere else except England, because the ball swings after
passing the batsman,
past the wicket even. So yeah. So he won't get as bad as that in wicket keeping, I hope. But it has been a huge learning curve for somebody who had the Midas touch, as we called him in our first podcast, I think.
And I think he should take the cue from whatever results he saw in this series for himself as a person, as a batsman. He is best when he's playing his natural game. Dhoni defending, these two words do not go together in the same sentence.
Yeah.
And he's not good at that. He should accept it, and there is no point
of him
scratching around.
He cannot play a Dravid. He can play a Sehwag, but he cannot play a Dravid.
Even if you have to save a test match, there's no point him scratching around for 50 deliveries and scoring 15 runs and getting out. Rather, get out in 20 deliveries, but score a 25 or a 30 or a 40. That might help the team a little more.
Yeah.
That's what, personally, I believe.
Do you think it's Mahendra Singh Dhoni needs to just take a step back and just relax a bit?
I think each and every Indian player needs to do that.
Yeah,
Playing non-stop cricket since the beginning of the year, probably late last year, and each and everyone, I think they're just going through the motions, and I think everyone's been saying that. All the ex-players have been saying that, and they haven't got time to breathe. Came back from South Africa, went to Bangladesh, had the World Cup, the IPL, the West Indies series, the England series. It's too much cricket going on all around. I think they need to stay home, do nothing at all, not even practice, take a good month and a half
but
off.
train.
Go take month and a half off.
Yeah.
I think mentally, once you're fresh, things just come naturally to you. Even no matter how good you are at what you do, if you're mentally not fresh, it's not going to help you out. It's going to show in your performance.
And Raina?
Raina, I think it's a little harsh to judge him. I mean, everyone knows that he has an issue against the short pitch delivery, but I like his character. He's a fighter.
Like it. Yeah, me too.
And that is what a team really needs. No matter what kind of condition he'll be up for a fight, but the thing is you need to give him his space. Everyone knows he has weakness against the short delivery, and now it's his responsibility to work on it.
Yeah.
If you cannot play it, move out of the way. Simple as that. Even if it's direct on your body, just practice. And I think he's taking it. I mean, he will do it.
He will do it. I think he's that kind of a character. He's just 20 for God's sakes. 20, 21 maybe?
It's 22, 23. Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely a character that I think India needs to keep in mind. There are two things that I would like to talk about. The first thing is the importance of Test cricket in India. There is the money is not made by Test cricket now. So one way that we can improve Test cricket in India is basically to create importance for it in the sense that make a test match every year, or maybe create one season of test cricket like the English do and like the Australians do, and then have like a marquee test of the summer or of the winter where India can really come all together and watch, like the Boxing Day test or like the Lord's test of the summer. What do you think about that? Will that attract some crowd?
I think traditionally what India has been doing is the BCCI has always played catch up. We saw the T20 format, how not in favor the BCCI was. Then the team goes and wins the T20 World Cup, and suddenly we have the IPL, booming the money coming in. Same thing happened with the Test status. India goes on to become the number one Test team in the world. Before that, no one cares about Test cricket. After that, the FTP is chock-a-block with Test matches all year round with the top nations in the world. I think instead of being a retroactive action, it has to be a proactive action. You shouldn't respond to what has come to you. You should plan to achieve something.
That's true.
And I think that is what has been lacking. BCCI has not shown any sort of vision in getting the team to where it has been. It's just a few individuals who've been carrying the team along on their shoulders. And I think the BCCI seriously needs to look within.
Test matches is something that you need to devote a lot of your attention to, and you cannot do it if you are a one-day team or a T20 team. As we see, England is not, they are a test team. Predominantly they are a test team. Australia were a good test team, and their players moved to the one-day internationals, and they were not a good T20 team, and they're still not a good T20 team because they don't focus on it.
Alright guys, just to give you sort of a roundup on world cricket,
Yes.
there have been two other series that's been going on at the moment. There was Sri Lanka and Australia playing a one-day series, and there's been Zimbabwe and Bangladesh. They just completed a one-day series of their own.
Great to see Zimbabwe doing well.
Great to see Zimbabwe back in the cricket action, and they've been doing amazingly well. They won the Test match series, and they won
just one test match.
Well, one-off Test match.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said series, but
Yeah.
yes. And they won the one-day match, 3-2, which was pretty good. They won the first three, and they won the series right there. The last two dead rubbers were won by Bangladesh. But the new players in Zimbabwe have made quite an impact. I think they've got good fast bowlers in. Their top order batsmen are performing really well, and I think their workhorse in that team. I truly believe one player who's world class in that team is I shouldn't say world class, but better in that associate nation category is Tatenda Taibu.
Yes.
I think
he's been there so long.
He's been there since I think eternity.
99 or something.
He came in as a 16, 17-year-old, and
and since 99 he's been there, and he's still very young. He looks fit as a keeper.
And every time you see Zimbabwe playing, you see he has some sort of a decent contribution to it. At least a good 30, 40, maybe 70, 80, a century here and there.
Yeah.
He's been the one who's consistently been performing, and it's good to see that.
He's stuck with Zimbabwe,
yes,
which is very hard in a country filled with turmoil, and a very commendable effort. Yes. Did you see that video on YouTube where the bowler got hit on the face? And that was Met.
Yeah, he got hit, and that was really painful. I saw that video, and it was really painful.
Oh my God!
You see a tooth flying off as soon as the ball hit him in the face. That was bad. I think that'll require some surgery.
Oh yes, definitely. To say the least.
To say the least.
Yeah.
That's right.
And moving on to the Sri Lanka Australia series. Good series, definitely interesting. Interesting to see that Australia doing well.
It's good to be an impartial observer when your team has been losing so badly. So let's say that.
Yeah, but it's good that Australia is doing well in spin-friendly Sri Lanka,
That's true.
We didn't think that would happen, and they have done.
And the people instrumental in bringing him there have been actually their bowlers, Bollinger and Mitchell Johnson, and even Brett Lee actually.
Yeah,
all three have played their part in at least one of the games out of the 5-match series.
I'm a fan of Doug Bollinger. I mean, he's your typical workhorse that will never die attitude. He's sort of like the Parveen Kumar of Australia, with more pace and left-handedness.
There's a lot of differences, but I know you mean the character, his personality, his attitude is more like Parveen Kumar. That's good.
And actually hair replacement. But let's definitely a good series. Again, one of the highlights was the Angelo Matthews catch in the second T20.
The T20 match, yes, exactly.
Second T20. Very good, very athletic.
That was an amazing presence of mind.
Yeah.
You catch a ball on the boundary, and you just see from the corner of your eye that there's another fielder somewhere close by. Throw it out before you step across.
Yeah.
It requires a lot of presence of mind. It's not just the catching of the ball, but making sure the catch was completed properly
and
after
throwing
you
it to
crossed
the
over.
fielder.
Yeah.
So you definitely do not see the fielder when you're running back like that.
Exactly.
So, another highlight of this series would have to be the Hattrick done by Mendes. By
Malinga.
By Malinga.
Yeah. In that, actually, if you want to mention, in that very match, in the second T20, when the Matthews took the catch, I think Mendes set a world record at the best bowling figures.
Six wickets in 13 runs.
12 or 13
12
runs.
or 13 runs, something like that.
That's the best bowling figures in T20 International by any bowlers.
Yeah.
And I think the Australian batsmen totally could not read it. They had no idea which way the ball was turning.
But they soon will, and he will again become an
Menace of the world. Moving on to the one-day series, yes. As you said,
the hat-trick on the last day, but more importantly, Australia won the first two, Sri Lanka won the third one. The fourth one was again won by Australia, and then the fifth one was the magic day where a hat-trick was achieved.
And I think this was the second one-day international hat-trick, or third one-day highest by any bowler.
Yeah, Akram has two,
yes.
And he has three. Obviously,
I think Malinga has that effect. When he takes wickets, he takes in buckets and buckets of wickets. So for him,
I can still remember that World Cup match in 2007. 4-4. Yes, and he almost got the fifth one too, and they had won that match otherwise.
It was he's an amazing bowler. You can never talk enough about his accuracy with his Yorkers.
Yeah. And one thing that was discussed by commentators was that he used to practice with shoes.
Shoes, yes.
And he used to keep the shoes in front of the wickets, and his goal was to hit the shoes. Or definitely something for Indian bowlers, or actually any bowler.
Any bowler in the world, yes.
And that's the way you learn how to bowl a York, and you don't know where the ball is coming from.
He's a great bowler in especially limited over conditions,
Yeah.
limited over matches, but even in test matches,
Yeah.
all his body cannot take the rigors of a 5-day match. But
It's too sad for Test match cricket, and I think
Yes.
we have lost a great. I mean, Sri Lanka will. It will be hard for them to play well against Australia and England coming because of the loss of
Malinga.
But great.
I think for them, for Australia, another bright spot was their batting performance. I think by Ponting and
Ponting was-
Michael Clark also.
yeah.
Both of them made decent contributions. Ponting in a couple of matches, same with Clark.
Yeah.
And I think he's enjoying not being the captain. What do you say that?
Yeah, I mean, pressure's off him, and he has seen his bad part, and
Yeah.
he just wants to.
I think the only way
He thinks that he has runs still left in him, and he just wants to make those runs without the pressures of captaincy. And I think I haven't seen Clark to be an exceptional captain, but I'm sure with that experience he'll also become as good as.
Definitely, but
maybe,
one good thing is that even after he became the captain, Clark hasn't let that affect his batting. He's been
Do you
contributing.
mean his lack of run scoring?
Oh no. He's been scoring runs. It's just not at the pace that you'd want it.
Well, when he
But-
became the captain, he became the captain with the average of 21, and you don't expect that a country to give a captaincy to somebody who's playing at the average of 21. But that's for us to see in future how well he does.
So moving on to our moment of the week, I'd like to pass it on to Parth to mention one of the biggest moments in history which is still remembered.
Yes, it was a match between England and Australia at the Oval. I know we talk a lot about the Ashes, but certainly this moment deserves a mention. It was a match played between Australia's Invincibles and actually England, where Sir Don Bradman got out for a 0 after his second ball duck.
In his last test match.
Eric Hollies was the bowler. He was a leg break bowler, and definitely moments that can count in your top 10 overall test cricket moments.
And that dismissal leading on to that legendary average of 99.96.
9-4. It's definitely one of the more famous numbers in cricket history. There was a good line that is around the Australian cricket quarters. Somebody asked Arthur Morris that where were you when Bradman got out on a duck. He said that I was betting on 100 on the other end. So I guess sometimes a duck can be more valuable than 100, more sort of memorable than 100, especially if it comes from the bat of the great Don. A moment definitely to be remembered.
Oh, definitely. And more than, I think you mentioned it when we were talking before the podcast, if it was 100, it wouldn't have been that special as that imperfection of a 99.94 is.
Yes, and you will never forget that. If you are fans of ours on Facebook, you all know that we went to see Fire in Babylon's premiere in Toronto. It was an event done by Cricket Canada. It was a free event, so it was something very, very special. The movie was very special, and we as a podcasting team went there and thoroughly enjoyed that evening.
It was an amazing experience. For me, I've always been a fan of great fast bowlers.
Yes.
And the 70s West Indian team, I mean, there's no comparison.
Yeah, there is no. I mean, Australia 2000s comes close, but
Still not there.
Still not there. Yes.
And it was amazing and such an eye-opening experience to see what the players actually went through at that point of time. The documentary is really well made.
Very, very well made.
And getting the actual players to come and talk about what their feelings were at that point of time, what they were going through, what the decisions they made, and their bonding as a team. It was an amazing journey, I would say.
And you really understood that what racism meant, and how you overcame, and you sort of, it was very heartwarming to see that cricket can really do such a major change in society as general, and this and just the brilliance of these players definitely changed some.
And I think what made the movie a little more special was it's a story about victory of the human spirit.
Yes.
And that just adds that extra bit of edge to the movie, which it was just amazing to get the actual players, see them talk about their lives at that point of time, what they were going through when they go out to the field, and obviously, like, again, I cannot talk enough about the West Indian fast bowlers.
Well, there was actually nothing better in the world than seeing players like Brian Close and all them being hit by the best bounces that you could ever see, and the most crushing bounces that you could ever see. Just brilliant bowling, and you thought, how can these bowlers bowl like that in the age of no helmets, the age of no protection? But it was definitely very good, very, very and thrilling.
Highly recommended, guys. If you guys haven't watched it yet, please go out. If it's playing in the cinemas near you, go out, watch it. It's an amazing experience to watch it on the big screen.
Yeah.
I know a lot of you will just download and watch it at home, but
that's not recommended.
Altogether a different experience watching it on the big screen. So if you get a chance, do not miss it. Yeah. But if you cannot, then it's up to you to whatever means you choose.
Then you have to buy the DVD.
We do not endorse any kind of piracy.
We do not endorse downloading or anything.
Perfect, guys. It was awesome being back. I know we missed one episode last week, but now we're back. Hopefully back on schedule.
Yes.
And hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And we'll be back again next week with one of our other episodes.
Yeah. Follow us again on Twitter and become a fan of the Facebook page, the Cricket Hotspot Podcast. And also, I started tweeting this week.
Oh, that's great. Yes.
So you can also follow me at my spin on cricket.
Perfect. And again, guys, do not forget to send us your feedback, your comments, any sort of improvements you'd like to see in the show, or hear in the show rather.
Yeah.
And it's greatly appreciated, and keep it coming in, and we'll just do our best to include everything we want, everything you want.
Okay, guys. See you next time.
See you next week, guys. Take care.
And we'll preview the ODI series next episode.
We will.